Welcome, everybody. You are listening to the Startup Secrets for Entrepreneur, and I'm your host, Shelby Ollerschlager. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs make a difference and navigate the messy world of startup or relaunch. Join me today where we dig deep with our guests to give you the best concepts and strategies to fast track your business. Today, our special guest is Joe Templin. So, Joe, thank you so much for joining. To get started, please tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So, the best description of me is a human Swiss Army knife, or maybe I'm the MacGyver that uses it, because I've got an incredibly eclectic background. I say eclectic background as opposed to Renaissance man because I can't draw a straight line even with a ruler. So, I started college at 13 because my parents said 12 was too young. I started my own business. My first one when I was like 14 years old, tutoring other kids so I could make money so I could buy comic books. That tells you a lot about me. I was dead from asthma when I was 8 years old. So when I was 12, I obviously got better. I started doing Tae Kwon Do. That led into eventually winning a world championship and a fascination with performance psychology that I drew from. I did work for the government in physics. That gave me a lot of really good background and made me realize I never wanted to work for a large organization again, because having a boss is one of the worst things possible if you are of a particular mindset. For some people, it's the right thing. It's great. For some of us, it is torture. And so we need to be out on our own, but we need to learn from those situations. Became a financial advisor. That's when I started getting interested in sales psychology. Started doing a lot of consulting. Ended up leaving the firm I was with and consulting back to them on national level. That's where a lot of my performance psychology was coming into play. And I started drifting even further into behavioral economics. Picked up ultra running a couple of years ago just because I hate running. So I wanted to push myself further. Did 2 ultramarathons last year and also wrote the book Everyday Excellence, which is an Amazon Kindle #1 new release and bestseller.
Awesome. I just love that idea of, everything that is pushing your boundaries and making you level up. And it is that performance mindset. So I'm curious, out of your experience of just your own trying to level up in your own performance of just achieving more greatness, was there one main component that really stood out to you that was necessary across all fields for that leveling up?
Adversity, having a challenge, having somebody I was told I would never get into Harvard. So of course I applied. I was told that I would never have a particular position. So I worked even harder to get it. I was told after a devastating knee injury where my knee bent in the wrong direction, 90 degrees, and they had to put it back in. That was lots of fun. That I would never be able to walk again normally, let alone compete. And I went on to win a world championship and started running Ragnars, which are 200-mile team relay races after that. So anytime we have adversity, it either reveals our strengths or forces us to develop new skills to overcome it. As Ryan Holiday says, title of one of his first books, the obstacle is the way. So was the saying that necessity is the mother of invention. So with people who are in the startup world, whether it's a brand new thing that they've created or they're trying to recreate themselves in their organization in some way, adversity is going to come. I mean, it's called life. Bad things are going to happen, whether it's a recession, whether it's economics, whether it's your car engine blowing up when you're going to the huge pitch, where it's spilling coffee all over yourself right before the podcast. No, I didn't do that this morning. I did that last week. This is the stuff that happens. It's called life. So deal with it. And having resilience is one of the greatest determinants of success in startups. It's a combination of resilience and discipline, which are two things that somehow have become hallmarks of me.
So first of all, I want to buy your book. So if we can make that happen. Also, I'm curious, how important do you think that is from your day-to-day life and then into business? Because it sounds like you are just like that well-rounded, like you need to level up in your more personal areas and that will transfer over to your business. So how important is that? And how can we get people to start making that shift of taking, like wanting to do a marathon because it's important and that's going to help you in your business because it's going to give you that strength. So how can we get people to start making that shift?
So that shift really comes about in terms of realizing that doing difficult things is actually good for you. So here's one of the real core ideas, whether it's trying to build your own personal excellence or in terms of building your business, because in a lot of ways, our businesses are a reflection of us. Even if it's a large organization you build, it still has that core DNA that we give it when it's our little baby, or actually beforehand, but you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
So in almost every situation, there are two types of choices that we can make. There is what feels good in the moment. It's easy, right? That is I'm going to take the afternoon off because it's sunny and beautiful out and I live in an area where that's not normal. There is I'm just going to eat the cheeseburgers and donuts because they taste really good. I love donuts. On International Donut Day, I had 10 Boston cream. So that was my cheat day for the month. Okay. It is the avoiding the difficult discussion, whether it's with your partner or with a employee. There is I'm just going to play video games instead of cracking the book when you're in college. So that choice, that is the easy choice that feels really good in the moment, tends to lead to the bad place. Okay. Or you can make the more difficult choice. You know what? It's 7:00 at night and I haven't finished everything that I need to do for the day. I'm going to just stay here and keep going until I'm done. The difficult conversation with somebody, the calling the potential client that scares the hell out of you, the deleting the app on your phone that leads you into bad places, the getting up and going for a run in the morning instead of staying in bed, running in the rain, which is something I hate. So I choose to do on a regular basis, with squishy feet and all that. Okay. So if you make the easy choice, it leads to more difficult situations in the future. But if you do the hard thing up front, you overcome the activation energy, basically, then things get easier after that. Because if you do something that scares you every single day in your business for 2 months, guess what? You're going to move your business ahead tremendously because you get those clients, you do the difficult things, but also you build your will set. You strengthen yourself, that internal discipline, as Jocko Willink talks about, discipline equals freedom. One of the main reasons I see people who are building businesses, whether it's a financial services firm or a small tech company or a consulting firm or whatever, the reason why they fail is because they don't have the discipline to do the difficult things every single day, repetitively, even if it's sort of boring, that is necessary to have success long range. Same thing that being a successful martial artist means practicing those basic techniques every single day for years to master them. That's the thing that people don't like about business because it's not sexy. They don't enjoy the grind. It doesn't get the 1,000 likes on Instagram or be the sort of thing that you can talk about when you're being interviewed on the podcast. People don't like hearing, no, you're going to roll up your sleeves and work every single day.
Yep. It's so true. And it's pretty cool. Like I always think of, so as someone else as well, myself is into competitive sport, all that grinding. And then all that is like the depths. And then the surface is like the competition, the competition is almost the easy part because you did all that stuff before. So I find that really fascinating.
I've got friends who played in the NHL and we talked about this. Game time is not practice time. For 10 minutes of ice time in a game, they would have 5, 6, 7 hours of practice after they made it to the NHL, after decades of 4 a.m. getting up and hitting the ice and all this, after all the wind sprints and the skill drills and all this. So 20 years of practice to get to that highest level, and they're still practicing 10 to 1 to performing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just how important that is. And I'm sure they're doing exactly what you said. They're doing those little smaller, difficult tasks that are going to help that willpower and just that overall, like that mental strength to just show up.
Yeah, Ed Milet talks about the one more. So like
Yeah.
if you're in the weight room and you're supposed to do 10 reps, you do one more rep. If you're supposed to do 10 wind sprints, you do one more afterwards. If you're supposed to make 20 calls to get appointments to sell your product, you make one more. If you're supposed to, do X number of meetings for the week, you do one more than that. And if you consistently have that mindset, that's how you develop excellence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the Ed Milet book, I think, that just came out as well. The Power of Will. Yeah, so true, so powerful. I'm curious now, so you've developed all these amazing skills that you know that are so important for businesses all across the field. So how are you able to kind of just show up in like that authority way to tell people and to market yourself in a way that they need your help? And how are you able to start developing your own clientele?
As Albus Dumbledore says, I'm me. So that sounds really flippant, but it comes about from confidence comes from competence. I have done, like when I was consulting with individual clients, I did 10,000 plus meetings. So I made a ton of mistakes, but I had a lot of success. As my Taekwondo master taught me years ago, before Malcolm Gladwell wrote the book about the 10,000 hour rule, if you do a technique, you have to do a technique 100 times to do it. You have to do it 1,000 times to understand it, and you need to do it 10,000 times to master it. So like every single morning, I still do my most basic techniques, practice my forms. And I do 100 plus punches each hand of the first punch I ever learned. I've now thrown that punch over 10 million times. I don't have to think about it.
Wow.
Okay. So when I show on up to talk to people, I know that I can help them because I've spent my life building my mindset around how do I help other individuals. If you ask me what I do for a living, it's how do I help them. So when I show up to coach or to teach or whatever, I know that I have the skill set and the knowledge set. It comes down to the will set at that moment and being situationally aware enough to pay attention, to learn, to see how I can use my unique abilities and skills in a situation to help them. And I fought Mike Tyson's sparring partners to a standstill, even though I was giving up 80 plus pounds on them. They knocked me out of my feet and I didn't stop fighting. Okay. So I've been ready, I've been 45 miles into a double marathon, 52 miles to a 100-kilometer race, 62 plus miles. And I'm not giving up. I'm too stupidly Irish. I'm too thick-headed in a lot of ways to stop in a lot of ways, which helps in business. But I also know I can do this. I've done difficult things. I've been dead before, okay? As I said, when I was 8 years old, I was dead. And obviously I got better, or somewhat better. I'm still brain damaged, but that's a different story. So, I know, so what? This guy's going to be mean to me? Big deal. I mean, this person's not going to stab me through the heart if they don't like what I'm saying, because we're not in pirate land, unfortunately. So, just do this. And, I'm going to be me. I'm going to have fun with it. If they don't want to learn from it, that's a them problem, not a me problem. If they're not going to take away something from my conversation with them or my coaching that's going to apply to them, if I give them tools and they leave the tools on the ground, that's not my fault. And it took me a while to realize that. It took me probably a decade of trying to help people and caring more about their success than they did. So that was something that Pat Summitt, the great coach from Tennessee, said years ago when her kid got cut from the basketball team and wanted her help. She's like, I will help you, but I will not start your engine. I will care, but I will not care more than you do about your success. I will give you everything that I have, but you need to take it and use it. And that applies to relationships, that applies to business, that applies in a lot of ways. So I've had multiple partners in the past who said, Joe, I don't want to work as hard as you do. I'm like, okay. And those partnerships ended because you need somebody who is committed. They don't have to want to work 70 hours a week, wherever, but they need to, when they're working, work and really work and care about the results and make it that important. So It is that passion. And as Nietzsche said, if a person has a strong enough why, they can overcome any how. If your vision, if your belief in your company, if what you're trying to do is that important, you will do what it takes. And that's one of the things that I've learned as a special needs parent. I have 2 kids on the autism spectrum, that if we can put on our Superman suit and just do it, because there's no days off in parenting. My kid needs me as much tomorrow as he did 2 weeks ago. So, my friends who have kids that have brain cancer or childhood diabetes, we don't get to take the day off. We need to show up and do what we need to do to take care of them. So look at your business the same way as your special needs kid, that you need to show up and do what it takes to make them successful. If you have that attitude and then expend that effort consistently every single day, then you're going to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it kind of makes me think about, one, having the really strong why in that goal of the future. So for you, how important is it for people to really develop that vision or that goal of where they're trying to exceed, and how can we help them actually take the steps every day to get there? Like you said, taking care of your kid requires every day, but if we don't know where we're going, that can be a challenge as well.
That is actually one of the most important things. So, if everybody wants to get to the moon, so we got to get the rocket ship off the ground. Now, does the rocket ship need to be pointed exactly where it's going to go? No, it needs to be in the right general direction, but it needs to get off the ground. It needs to overcome that inertia. It needs to reach escape velocity, using the physics term. And so if you're not ready to work, if you don't have enough passion and fuel, guess what? Rocket's not getting off the ground and you're not getting to the moon. So I can't help you in that situation. However, if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to expend the energy, then we can get you off the ground and moving, and then we can tweak it. We can make small adjustments. We can have better coaching and things like that to make sure that eventually we reach that target. But the individual has to care that much. They have to be ready to expend that energy. They have to make the economic sacrifices to start up a business, because guess what? There is an opportunity cost. And you could take that nice, easy, cushy job with Google or, being an engineer or whatever, make 6 figures. But if what you want to do is important enough, you will be willing to take your mom saying, I thought you were going to go be a physicist. I hate that you know this. But yes, my mom told me that. Okay, I had to be among the top 5% in the profession in the world before she's like, I guess you made the right choice. All right. So you need to be willing to go through that to get to the moon or the stars or wherever it is that you're on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that metaphor of just your passion is the fuel to really get there. And it's not going to take off if you don't really take it that seriously. So I'm curious, with what you're doing, what are your next steps? Where do you see yourself in a year? Where would you like to take your own business?
So I've been thinking about this a bunch, actually, and I want to influence 100 million people. Okay. And I say influence as opposed to directly impact or sell books or whatever, because I've always looked at what I do as an entire environment. So there's multiple components of it. So coaching, consulting, writing, speaking, those are all parts of impacting individuals. So being on podcasts like this with you, Shelby, hopefully I can reach thousands of your listeners, maybe even, tens of thousands over time, and help them be better. Mm-hmm. Does that help me economically directly? No, but quite frankly, I don't care. If I'm reaching 100 million people, I'm going to be okay. Okay. I was taught years ago, if you help enough people reach their goals, you're going to reach your goals. Let me repeat that. If you help enough other people reach their goals, you're going to reach your goals. For your listeners, if they can do that, they're going to be financially okay if they can help enough other people get what they need, whatever it is that they're doing in their own particular way with their company. So helping 100 million people change their lives and have better impact. You know what? That creates 100 million little nodes of excellence out there. And what that's going to do for the world is going to be flipping awesome. It's going to be great. So, you know what? Go listen to the podcast. Every podcast that I'm on basically is going to end up on my website, and it'll be out there on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Tunes and all these other places. So I don't care how they consume it. Read the articles I write for magazines that I don't get paid for. go to the blog, my website, because every single day I put up a micro blog, on Twitter, on the Facebook thing, all these things, buy the book, hopefully, because, that buys me beer. But, all these different ways are ways to be able to get to that 100 million goal. And that is a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And so that's what drives me. So that's what gets me up. And in fact, today's page in the book talks about being on a mission. And it talks about having that thing that fires you up, that you're willing to work for. I mean, a lot of professional athletes are like, I play the game for free. They're not going to play it for free, but they still love it. And they get on up and they've got that enthusiasm and they want to go. And that's what we need to have in our business. I used to not be able to sleep on Sunday nights, not because I was worried about work, because I was so excited about going into the office and helping people and do what I do. And if you can have that enthusiasm, if the next day is Christmas for you every single day in work, because you get all these presents that you can open up and it's going to be wonderful and you can impact other individuals. If you can have that, then it just comes around tweaking it and focusing that energy.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Lots of things to unpack there. The one that I just want to touch on a little bit is just that idea you said about people loving it. They'd play it for free. Do you ever encounter like so much of the one thing that people start to get sick of it? Like, or how would you change that narrative of like, oh, I'm doing the same thing over and over. I'm like struggling in my business. I have this mission, but it's just, it's kind of sucking right now. Is there a way that you'd say to kind of...
There's two things that I would say about that. One, you need to embrace the Stockdale paradox that Jim Collins talks about in Good to Great. Admiral Stockdale was the highest ranking individual in the Hanoi Hilton. He was a Stoic, and people asked him about who was able to survive the prisoner of war camps. And it was not the optimist. We'll be home by Christmas. Christmas comes and goes, and they start losing some faith. Oh, we'll be home by St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day comes and goes, they lose more faith. Oh, we'll be home by the 4th of July. 4th of July comes and they're just broken. They give up. Okay. I see too many people trying to build a business who are like that, and they have a lot of optimism. It's just optimism. I'm an optimistic guy. I look at the world through rose-tinted glasses in a lot of ways. By the way, red flags you don't see because of the rose-tinted glasses. Well, side note. The ones who broke next, though, were the cynics. No, we're never gonna, and they'd last longer than the optimists, but they'd still ultimately have no hope and give up. The ones who survived were the ones who embraced the Stockdale paradox, embrace the bitter truth, but never give up hope. Things suck now, but we can make them better. We're in rough times, but we're going to get through it. So, things are not good now, but I've got a plan. I'm working on my plan. Today was not necessarily a good day, but the week's going to be okay because I did what I needed to do. So you boil it down, you figure out the one or two things you need to do every single day to keep moving forward, and you do them every single day. And it might be a grind, but it comes back to the bricklayers of in ancient Germany, 200 years ago, building these cathedrals. One guy is there, he's putting down the bricks, and a lady comes up to him, what are you doing? I'm laying bricks. He's just putting down those bricks. And that's the one who, is getting upset with the grind, with doing the same thing over and over and over again. But the other one is, the lady's like, what are you doing? I'm building this glorious cathedral. Okay. And I'm contributing to this, but you're never going to see it, young man. It's going to take 50 years, but it will always be here. And I will have done the fundamentals for it. So if you're building the fundamentals, if you're laying the base bricks that are going to eventually become this amazing cathedral, even if you're no longer the CEO, even if somebody else is running it, even if the VCs have taken it over, that was still your cathedral that you contributed to. You built that. And so you will always be proud for it. And if you can build it once, guess what? You can build another one.
So true. I totally agree with that. I want to go back to just like your business of saying like that you're influencing 100 million people. Mm-hmm. So now with that goal, which I love those big, hairy goals, like they just really drive us and make us dream and think a lot bigger. So that's amazing. How now, what are your steps? Kind of like you mentioned just doing the podcasting and sharing. what other things, like what challenges are you going to face if maybe someone's listening that has the same sort of audacious goals? What could you tell them to actually be able to reach this?
So you have this huge goal. You need to figure out what are your thresholds. So like that daily activity number. So when I was building my financial services career 25 years ago, I figured out that I needed to do X for a week in terms of seeing this number of people. And on a daily basis, I needed to get 2 appointments per day on the phone of new people to see. And then after I did that for a year, it dropped down to 1. So that was the one thing. So that was the most important thing. I needed to do this. That would lead to this week. That would lead to this overall production activity, everything, and be able to build up from that. So good days lead to good weeks, good months, good years lead to a great career. So I broke it down to, this is what I want to achieve. This is my lever. This is what I needed to do every single day, no matter what. So like Arnold Schwarzenegger, his goal was to be multiple time Mr. Universe. He knew I needed to do every single day. And other people were like, Arnold, you're always smiling. Why? He's like, every rep, every weight I move, every sit up I do, no matter how much it hurts, it's leading to this goal. So have that goal and then figure out a plan. And as Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. You're going to get punched in the face. You need to develop resiliency. You need to overcome. That's part of being in a startup universe. Okay, it's not a nice linear thing, as we all know. It's like a thing of spaghetti in a lot of ways. It's crazy. Okay, so you need to always have your eye on what is that I need to do ultimately, and what do I need to do to get there. I've got a good friend who's a fireman, right? And he was training a young firefighter, and he's like, okay, building's on fire, there's people inside. What do? Go through the door. Okay, door has something blocking it. You can't get through there. I go through the window. Okay, window is too high, and so you can't go through there. I go through the wall. Why do you go through the wall? Because I need to get in there. There's people I need to save. I got to get in there. And so resilience comes about from, you need to get in there. What if that get in there is get into the large organization to sell your product? If that is to like get your product into the distribution channel that you want. If you need to get in there, no matter what, you will figure out a way. And it is that component that's so critical. So one of the things that I'd recommend for your people is the same thing that I was doing this morning. I have a real short-term goal that I'm trying to push on reaching the New York Times bestseller list within the next month. Okay, so I sat down and I had a cup of coffee. I was just brainstorming and thinking about it. I've got a bunch of ideas. I'm going to reach out to some people. So I've got a saying, 1 minute of planning prevents an hour of useless work. Sometimes, we're doing this work, and we're literally doing useless work. It's busy work, or it's stuff that is inefficient. So take a couple of minutes, a couple of times a day to just stop, pause, think, look at what you're doing, reflect, analyze the results of what you've done, try and understand and look at new ways to do things. So that's one of the reasons why I hang out with people from completely different backgrounds, and I ask them, how can I go about reaching this goal? Because a 5-year-old kid might tell you the secret that you're looking for. Somebody, a 75-year-old grandmother who, bakes cookies might give you the idea that you need. So be ready to keep your eyes and ears open to find that one bit of insight.
I think that's great advice. Definitely, it's so true. And just having that openness about you to say, like, I don't really know right now, but someone else just might spark something. So I think that's really, really important. And I really like that advice. Just to wrap up, I just want for people listening that want to learn more, one, where can they find you? And also, what is one last piece of advice that you want to leave us listeners thinking about after this conversation?
Well, they can probably find me in my office, busting my butt, either that or pub. So they can find the book on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, anywhere that books are sold. But the better place to find it actually is on the website, which is at everyday-excellence.com, everyday-excellence.com. Because not only can they get the books there, but that's where my microblog is. So every single day I put stuff up there. You can get to the YouTube channel, the Twitter feed. You can find the other podcasts. So that 100 million being able to reach people, they can get more insight, more inspiration, more guidance that is completely free just by going there, and it's easily shareable so that other people can find it too. Yeah. So that's the best place to go and get some more Joe is at everyday-excellence.com. And I had to leave people with a idea or a concept. It really comes back to that mission that we're on in a lot of ways, trying to build that business, trying to achieve whatever. And I've got teenage sons, so of course they play lots of video games. In fact, a lot of my early clients were computer game companies. And everybody's trying to get to the castle. They want to save the princess, get the treasure, all that. That is our main quest. Look at life, look at your entrepreneurial journey, look at everything like that quest, and be ready to take the side quests. Okay? Take that little side job if need be. That's going to give you the gold to be able to continue on your path. Go into that tavern and talk to that weird old man, probably me, to get some insight that you're going to need. If you need to go into the inn and just rest and recover so that you can beat the boss, do that. Look at all these little side quests as a way to get relationships and resources that ultimately contribute to your main quest. And if you look at your entrepreneurial journey like that, then you're going to have a little bit more fun with it, and you're not going to get as frustrated along the way.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And it even makes me think of, I've heard people say, like, look at your life like a movie, and that you're the character. So you're going to be planning and thinking of like what the movie's going to end like. So you're going to act in a way to get there. This is kind of like another way to look at it, which I like. Yep. It's a game. So cool. Awesome.
And as a game, it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah. No,
so have fun with it along the way, and wander on off and go chase that butterfly for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And I just imagine you sitting in the bar. You said you're going to be there with like a book and a beer or something. Like, buy my book.
Exactly. I've got my Guinness, and I've always got a book or something that I'm reading and trying to consume and learn new information to be able to help other people.
Yeah. And that's the ticket right there. So with that all being said, I just want to thank you so much for sharing some of that information and that wisdom with us. And hopefully in no time you'll get to your goal, and this definitely is going to help. So thank you so much for that.
Shelby, thank you. Be excellent and grow today.
I will.